When carrying out data mining, it's very important to understand the nature of the variables that you're working with. And this is true in any kind of data mining application, but here in this video, we're going to look at how variables are expressed in RapidMiner for data mining analysis. So we'll first look at data types of the variables that we find in RapidMiner. There's two main categories of data types, the first being numeric, that is numbers. So there's many categories of numeric types, and here we use the terminology that's used in RapidMiner to explain these. Actually, each data analysis application has the same kinds of variables. The names differ a bit, but as long as you understand what they really mean, then even if you go to another analysis software, you can apply the same concepts. So real numbers are basically numbers with decimal points, such as 123.45, 203.02, and so on. And integers are whole numbers, like 5,009, 22, 1,387. Okay. Now, mathematically, you could say that integers are same as real numbers, but when doing data analysis, it's important to know that some things in the real world are integers naturally. So for instance, if you're counting the number of chairs you have in inventory, well, you either have 59 chairs or 60 chairs. You don't have 59.5 chairs. And so you should not store counts like that as real numbers. You should store them as integers because real numbers with decimal points are not realistic. So it is important to understand the nature of the real world object to know what type you're using. The next type of numeric type is binomial, and this binomial, bi means two and nominal, two names. It means something that has one of two values, and this represents true or false. So it's either true or false. It's a binomial type, and you might wonder how is that a number? Well, that's because in almost all programming systems, binomial values as true or false values, they're sometimes called booleans, are represented as zeros for false and one for true, or sometimes any number other than zero. But they're represented internally as numbers, and so they are included in the numeric types. Then the other major category of numeric types are dates and times, and RapidMiner distinguishes dates that are just a date, such as February 17, 2021, or a time such as 12:24 p.m., or date time, which has both together, February 17, 2021, 12:24 p.m. So these are represented internally as numbers, and usually internally they're represented as seconds from January 1, 1970, but because they're represented as numbers, they fall under the numeric types in RapidMiner. The other major category of data types are the nominal types. Nominal mean a name, and these represent text types of categories. And there's different kinds of nominals. The most common types are called polynomials, and these are categories, such as short text strings. So if maybe the region of your warehouse is either north, south, east, or west, those are four possible values expressed as short text, so that would be polynomial. People's names are usually represented as polynomial, so any short text value. And RapidMiner makes a distinction between polynomial and the text type. And text means long text content, specifically for text mining. So these would be text documents, such as memos or letters, or maybe tweets or Facebook posts, anything that is a long text which has some semantic meaning, and which to really understand, a human would need to read it and interpret it, then that is called a text type. It's more than just a short category or label. Then the third major type of nominal data in RapidMiner is the file path, and that's basically the path of a file or it might be the URL of a website, so a website link address. So that is the file path type, which means something. It's not the entity itself, but it's a location where you can identify a file that might have all kinds of information that might be useful. So these are the main data types of variables in RapidMiner. The next thing we'll look at is going more broadly beyond just RapidMiner, because, as I said, those categories are named differently in other applications, but they apply, the same concepts apply in almost every system. But looking more generally at data mining and the types of variables that you might choose for different data mining techniques. When you look at numeric values, most data mining algorithms can handle numeric types. There's very few that don't. So when you're dealing with numbers, you can run it on almost any technique. However, it is worth noting that sometimes you might need to convert your numbers into text categories, which is usually called binning, where consecutive numbers are converted into categories. So an example of this is maybe you're working with a shop, like a coffee shop or a snack shop, and you're trying to predict at what temperatures do more customers come to your shop. So when you do your analysis, and suppose your temperatures range from 0 degrees Celsius to 30 degrees Celsius, maybe your data analysis is not finding any relationships. And that might be because there's so many different temperatures from 0 to 30 and with specific numbers, that finding a specific relationship between any one temperature and number of customers is just not showing up. So maybe you convert your temperatures into three categories. Cold, which is temperatures from 1 to 10 degrees, warm, 11 to 20, and hot to 21 to 30. And maybe with this categorization, suddenly your analysis shows that you have more customers when it's cold and more customers when it's hot, but fewer customers when it's warm. And that did not show up when you were just dealing with numbers. And perhaps the explanation is that when it's cold, people are more likely to come in for coffee. When it's hot, well, you actually also serve ice cream on hot days, and so more people come in then. But then when it's neither cold nor hot, then you don't have a particular thing that draws customers, and you have lower numbers of customers. And that's just an example that might show that sometimes it is useful to transform numbers into categories, and you might find insights that way. Though, just on the side, I'll say usually you don't want to throw away the numbers. You want to include the numbers and the categorical variables, and then see what your data mining technique might find. So then some comments on nominal types. So this is text type data. Some algorithms can handle nominal variables as text categories, but most actually cannot. Most algorithms expect numbers and work with numbers. For nominal types, some like decision trees and some versions of cluster analysis can handle categories fine and predict based on them. But most algorithms, such as regression, have to actually convert the categories into numbers in order to do analysis. And there are standard ways to do that, so especially binary dummy variables. And so that can be done. So with this, with these comments, you have an idea of the different types of variables, especially in RapidMiner, and some considerations of what you might need to begin to do with them in order to do different data mining analysis.